Yo, what is going on, everybody? Back with Figuring It Out with myself, David.
And Victoria.
And today we have an episode about going all in.
All in.
Yeah.
All
like
in.
We're going down the fucking rabbit hole today.
No,
we're not doing that. That's a later episode for a strange crowd.
Yeah, that could be like a Stranger Things episode.
Yeah, I'm down for that. That's where Victoria and I can talk about all of our conspiracy theories that we have about UFOs and all that good shit.
Right. So. No. We're going all in terms of like one subject matter or like one...
Going all in on
one venture, one...
Yeah, just going all in on something and not getting distracted.
Yeah, so I thought it would be a great opportunity, and we actually... we're loving the feedback that we're getting from everybody in terms of what topics we should be doing and whatnot. And so this one was inspired by... Do we say who it's inspired by?
Yeah, go for it. Who gives a fuck? That's awesome.
Homegirl Ari at the Channel Islands Starbucks location. Also one of our good friends.
Shout out to Ari.
So she said, she asked me, she was like, how did you go from what you were doing in the past to going all in for working at the gym? Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's pretty good topic, especially because last week we talked about like discipline, consistency, stuff like that. Yeah. And so part of that was growing the gym, right?
Yeah. Like at what time, like when is the right time? When is the right feeling to just kind of go all in on something?
Yeah. So a little bit of a backstory. When I first started my, I don't want to say career, but in terms of jobs and whatnot, I started with the Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Wainimi, and then was there for a few years. And then in 2019, I was at a satellite location still for Boys and Girls Club. I was the director of that satellite location. Was there for about a year. COVID happened. And so I ended up switching jobs, worked for the Navy. Either way, my whole like previous experience before the gym was always child and youth programs. Mm-hmm. And after a year of being with the child and youth programs for the Navy, we were going to get married. I'm trying to make sure like my timeline is right.
No, you're good.
We were going to get married October of 2021. So it's October 2021. We get married. And in the midst of like the whole wedding and everything, it was COVID vaccinations.
Yeah.
And was it going to be mandatory? Was it not going to be mandatory? Especially because you're working for the government, being a DOD employee. So to be completely honest, I didn't want to get vaccinated. And so that was like, okay, if I don't, I may lose my position. But that's kind of what started the talks of like, in the case that this happens, am I going to go all in at the gym?
Are we prepared to, like at that time, so we weren't like, we actually were like, basically got a slap on the back of our hand from our accountant for like basically not paying ourselves.
Right.
So like, even though a lot of people say like reinvest in your business, reinvest. And that's all I did. I literally took $0 out for like 2.5 years. I took literally $0. And so because of that, our accountant was like, dude, you need to fucking pay yourself or somebody because you guys are going to pay a crap ton in taxes. So we're like, okay, well, we have the ability to transition Victoria from where she was at to being at the gym, whether it was full-time or part-time, basically paying her like a semi full-time, like somewhere in between part-time and full-time. We technically were paying her that salary. She was getting paid less than what she was actually working just because... Well, when you own the business, you get paid less.
So the condition of the whole transition of the job of where I was at and going in all in at the gym was under the condition of I need to get paid at least, if not more, the same amount of what I was getting paid for the child and youth programs in order for it to make sense. Because again, like David said, he wasn't working.
I was getting paid.
So, I'm sorry, he wasn't getting paid. And so I was bringing in income and I was like, look, I still have, we have bills we have to pay, you know, car insurance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that needs to get paid. So either way, they finally came down and said, look, if you still want your position, you have to get vaccinated. And we had just gotten married. And so it just ended up being, you know what? I'm just going to end up leaving the position.
Yeah.
And that's kind of basically how it worked itself out. after the honeymoon, I want to say I stopped working for the child and youth programs.
Yeah, I think you worked like a week and that was it. Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe even that.
And then that was it because, of course, it was like I waited until the last deadline of when you had the last chance to get the shot. And then, yeah. So I waited until the last moment and then just decided to go all in at the gym. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's never a right time to go all in. Well, I mean, shouldn't say there's not a right time. There is a right time to go all in. It just depends. You just have to pick something. So you have to determine what you want to do. So whether that's going to be working for yourself or that's going to be working for somebody else. Once you make that decision on whether you're going to go all in or not, or once you make that decision on what you're going to do, whether that's working for yourself, working for somebody else, you have to go all in on it because spreading yourself thin is probably like the ultimate recipe for disaster at the beginning. So like, well, no matter what, spreading yourself thin is not good, but at the beginning, you just don't have the bandwidth to be able to do it. So you're basically setting yourself up for failure if you spread yourself thin at the very beginning.
Well, yeah. And so I think part of it too is, I'm not trying to jump too far ahead, but I think part of it, to kind of backtrack a little bit, was we had, obviously before the whole vaccination things, and let's just get that out of the way, is we had conversations of where we wanted to take the gym, right?
Exactly.
And how we wanted it to grow and what things we needed to do in order to get there. And so in that sense, it was time for us as a couple to both put like all hands on deck,
basically,
to be able to grow the gym.
Yeah, it was the best way. If you own a business, it was the best way to negotiate not having to pay someone like a full salary, but still getting the 100%, well, 110% work ethic and output from someone without having to pay that full-time salary now.
Right.
Because 10 years from now, yeah, once you can reap the benefits of what you've put in, Victoria will get paid 10x what someone normally would get paid. But at the beginning, it's like, no, I need to get the most amount of output for the literally least amount of pay.
Well, and I think that's when the conversation of us as a couple had to come into play of like, this isn't just your dream, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that we were doing this because, going back to last week's episode, we talked about what kind of lifestyle we want to live and what we need to do to get there.
Exactly.
And so this is just what needed to happen.
Yep.
Now, sometimes I'll get questions, well, is this something that you wanted to do? Like, what's your degree in? Well, my degree's in psychology, but you know, that for me, that doesn't mean anything right now, because I'm helping build this gym with my husband.
Yeah.
So that way we can get it to a place where it's like working on its own.
Yeah, but let's be fucking real here. Anyone who gets a degree, like, unless you're going to be a fucking doctor or an accountant, degrees are fucking useless.
Yes. But like the topic of psychology has always interested me. So like not to discount any of that.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying it was also like the point of my degree in psychology, just a bachelor's, wasn't going to get me anywhere unless I had a master's.
Exactly. And that's kind of how like the reality of things are nowadays.
And I didn't want to put us in debt, and it didn't make sense to pursue something that I was still not even sure about doing.
Yeah, exactly. She wasn't all in, so she didn't go all in.
Yeah, why was I going to commit myself to something and just put myself in debt? Like, not going to do it.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like, dude, just sit down. Like, before you just go crazy on something, sit down, determine what it's going to take to get there. And then at that point, you can make the decision on like, okay, is this something that I actually want to go all in? And then just understand that when you go all in on something, you put your blinders on to everything else. You're going to have to just go towards that one thing. And so when you're ready to go all in, just understand you're going to have to incur certain things. Like, if you want to be a doctor, you're going to incur debt. If you want to be a historian, you're going to incur debt. If you want a master's and a PhD, those type of things. Well,
and we were in a position where it made sense for me to hop on board and get paid by the gym. But not only that, it made sense. I'm losing my train of thought. It made sense for me to understand and realize after numerous conversations that if I still wanted to pursue other things, we're young enough to do so.
Yeah, that's also a really, well, there's two sides to that, because you can't use it as a scapegoat
No.
to be like, oh, I'm young enough. And so you get a year in, you're like, this isn't for me, because the length of time that you pursue something, the more successful that you're most likely going to be at it. Because if you don't quit, then you can't really lose. So you have to continue to do that for a better chance of success. So that's one side. You can't use it as a scapegoat.
No.
But the other side, no, I'm giving this as an example to someone else.
Okay.
So you can't use it as a scapegoat, but it is the other side, which is like what people say, like, well, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So like, you might as well just go for it today, because guess what? You ain't getting any fucking younger. So you might as well just do it now.
Exactly. So either way, so the timing of everything, you can say that I was forced out of my job, and that's why I went into the all in at the gym. You can say it was just perfect timing because we just got married, and as a relationship, we're like, look, we're going to be committed into our business and help this grow. So see it as either way you want. It happened. The gym growing was just a priority. And
it was that point where it's like you have to sit down and like there was a hard conversation that Victoria and I had, which was like, hey, you're a director for the Boys and Girls Club, and then she became someone with the child and youth programs with the Navy, with the DoD, and it was like, hey, obviously you like working with children, but how stagnant all these job positions in terms of like, what's the vertical mobility look like within the company or companies, and what's the scalability in terms of pay? It's like, is the risk versus reward worth it in our own business, or is it worth it there? And so we sat down and we're like, okay, the gym is growing pretty good at this point, because we were still in the middle of COVID, so we were still growing, and we hadn't implemented a lot of things that we have now. So because Victoria was able to join us, join as an employee, we were now able to go all in. So now we have time to do more social media. We have time to do more apparel drops. You have time to be able to do more repairs and maintenance to the facility. So that's you to sit down and be like, okay, well, is it worth it? And then once it's worth it, then you just have to go all in, send your resignation letter in and just go for it. But you have to go all in.
Right. Yeah. And it was scary because it was something super uncomfortable with me. Like I said, starting out, like 18, 19 years old with like working with kids, it was like what I knew. And then so to leave that, and I was really good at it. So to leave that and hop on board with the gym, like I was into the gym, but it like, you can go, it wasn't my 100% thing, like in all honesty. But you just happened.
Yeah.
I mean, is the best way to put it. I don't know. What else
let's talk about like, when's the right time to go all in. So the right time to go on, like I said, is when you have to sit down and determine if you see a future. Like let's give examples. So let's just say someone's in a 9-to-5 job, right? Which is, there's nothing wrong with the 9-to-5 job, and there's a lot of 9-to-5 jobs that pay really, really well, and people enjoy what they do. So you're in a 9-to-5 job, but you've determined that one, there's no mobility within where you're at in the foreseeable future, or even in the long-term future, to be able to scale within that business, within that company that you're in. Right. That might be a time to look and be like, hey, there's nowhere for me to go here. That probably would be a time for you to switch something and go all in on something else.
If you want to continue to grow.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because there are a lot of people, and I've worked with people before in retail, where manager positions were available to them, and they were offered positions, and they turned them down because they didn't want the responsibility, they didn't want the schedule, they didn't want the headaches. So if you don't want that, that's totally fine. Right.
And that just goes back to our conversation of, it just depends on what kind of lifestyle you want.
Yeah, you have to sit down. Exactly. Go back to episode number 1 about goals and determine what you want. And then once you can determine what you want, that's how you can kind of pick and choose how you want to go about your growth within a company.
Right.
So, and then the other side of things is, I think this is really important, and we can get into a little bit more of like when the demand is available in terms of business in a couple of minutes. But one thing I think is really important is that if you're someone, so we gave this scenario of a 9-to-5. So now let's give you a scenario of if you're going to open your own business. So what I think people really miscount for, and this is something that I'm really glad that I did, is businesses it could take 6 months to a year to multiple years to become profitable. So if you're going to go all in on a business, you need to have a reserve fund to be able to pay for your basic necessities. So that is super, 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 super important, is that if you want to go all in on something, yeah, you do have to semi back yourself into a corner to force yourself to really like get creative and make it work. I think that's a good aspect of opening your own business, but you need to be smart. You don't want to be digging out of a trash can for food because you didn't plan correctly. So you can only go all in if you're actually prepared to go all in.
Right.
So I think that's really, really, really important.
Right. I mean, if the gym wasn't making enough money to pay somebody, then why would I have been on board?
Exactly.
It wouldn't
Well,
have made
I'm
sense.
talking about from the beginning. Like the gym, our business, I had to take a line of credit. I had to borrow money to pay for my rent. At the first month, it was like I had to borrow money to pay 3/4 of my rent. And then 2 or 3 months in, I had to borrow money to pay half of my rent. And then, less and less, I had to borrow money to pay only, 1/4 of my rent. And then you break even and then you make profit. So like, you just have to be prepared that you may be in the hole for an amount of time. And so don't be stupid, go all in. And all of a sudden now you have to sell your car, you have to sell your shoes, you have to sell everything because you literally have how you have nothing. So you have to, it's a fine line of like, you can't have too much cushion, because then it's like, dude, you have analysis paralysis where like you're basically just sitting, not doing anything because you're just like building too much of a cushion, but don't put yourself into like a really deathly situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like preparation for going all in.
I'm like, that was good.
Yeah, mic drop. Fucking boom,
that was
bitch.
Good. That's it. That's the episode, guys. All right. See you next week.
Yeah. That was a fucking gem right there.
No, but I think let's go back because you were talking about demand and demand for something or supply for something. So like how did we come about that?
Yeah, well, you've already explained your position, which I think was a good example of that, which was there was at the beginning, there was no demand for a second employee because, well, one, we didn't have the money for it, but two, like I had all the time in the world. We weren't busy. We didn't have enough members at our facility. And then the demand came where I was like, okay, we need to have a second person. And then like we have our first team member, our first ever employee, she's starting tomorrow because now we have a demand for a third person. And so spreading yourself thin, the demand that you have in terms of your bandwidth is really important. And this is something that I see happen a lot in these very smaller, like the level that we're at, if not even the more microscopic level of where we're at. So someone who's just starting, is that it's very easy to spread yourself thin if there's no demand for what you're going to be basically putting yourself through in new products. So when we first started the business, we didn't have apparel.
Right.
We had no apparel for sale because we didn't have members. And so there was no one to buy the apparel. So it was only until we started to accumulate demand or people were asking for it is when we actually did it. You see all these people online now who go and they start a personal brand, whether they're selling knickknacks or apparel or anything. And it's like, oh, dude, I'm selling these things. And it's like, but no one really there's no niche in the market for that. Like no one needed it. So you have to understand that if you're going to go all in on something, you can't spread yourself thin. Like I'm going to open up, let's just say I'm going to open up a barbershop. And then you're like, yeah, but I'm also going to open up the clipper company who makes the actual clippers for the barbers. And then I'm going to also at the same time make the company who makes the chairs in the barbershop. And then I'm going to make the company who makes the mirrors in the barbershop. It's like, dude, at the beginning, you need to focus on one thing.
It's like that one saying, like you're putting your hands in too many pots. Like,
yeah, like you need to create some type of success within just one area of your life. And then once you have the availability to do those other things, you have not only the income to be able to reinvest into those, but you have the mental bandwidth. When we first started the business, like, dude, I couldn't even think of doing other things. Literally because I was focused on just getting people in the door.
Right. Well, that's when, for sure, like just touching on that, we were so all in on the business, everything took a back seat.
Yes.
And so our personal fitness journeys took a back seat.
Yes.
Our relationship kind of took a back seat. Like it just wasn't a priority. And
we couldn't go to Dodger games. We couldn't go out on dates.
Exactly. We weren't invited to a lot of places. And if we were, it was always like a no because it wasn't the priority. So
yeah.
Either way, we were just so all in on this. And it was like, look, kind of, again, touching base on last week's, is that it was just like a temporary moment. Like, look, we're just getting through this. And then once this is good to go, then we'll be okay and we'll be fine. And then we can start having a little bit more, I want to say free time, but more of the ability to spend time elsewhere because we're meeting what we need to do.
Yeah. It's like a percentage. So like when you're in your business, and every business is going to be different and every job is going to be different. So like, your business, like, and knock on wood, like your business blows up within 6 months, you may need to hire way quicker than what we did. And frankly, like I could have hired 2 years ago, but honestly, I was just scared because as a first time business owner, I don't know when the right time to hire is.
See, the easiest, you took the easy route.
I took the easy route and I hired my wife. Well, like I can harass my wife, so like I'm allowed to do that. And I'm just kidding. So that's one thing that's important is like, depending on what your business is and how quick it explodes in terms of revenue is, at the beginning, you're going to be 100% business focused. So 0% relationship, 0% family life, 0% everything else. And then as your business grows, you might be like 90% business, and then 10% might be recreation or maybe like another business, because now you have 10% of your, bandwidth to put towards something else. And then at some point, there's a lot of big CEOs where if they're too involved in their business, then they're actually like doing harm to their business because they're getting in everyone's way. So you actually end up being like maybe 25% involved, and the other 75% you might be doing like philanthropy or like other things.
Philanthropy.
Something like that. I don't know.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, for real. I can't spell shit. My grammar is so bad. So like there's just periods of time where like your bandwidth is maximized or your bandwidth is more efficient, and you just have to understand that when you go all in, 99% of the time it's going to be 100%.
Well, and
or it needs to be.
That's a good point to touch on, especially because you mentioned that we're bringing on our new HOG team member. So next question that we'll probably get asked a lot is, what are you guys going to be doing now? So now it can be interpreted as, so then does that mean we're not all in the business anymore because now we have somebody else? What are we going to be doing in that time that we're not there because somebody else will be?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's why you got the notebook and I don't.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. You want to just like talk about us personally?
Yeah, like so basically what was the need for us to hire somebody?
Yeah,
not only the fact that we're working 12-hour days Monday through Friday and then, again on Saturdays, but what's I'm glad we get it.
I hope that we have viewers who are at our age group who have businesses already and who maybe would be running into this. Or maybe they feel guilty. And so like having someone in their position, we can talk about like what we're going to be doing with our time. So now that we'll be hiring someone, instead of Victoria and I being there 100%, well, we're there like about 98% of the time because my mom subs in for maybe an hour or two a week. So like we're there basically 100% of the time. And then shout out to, mom for being there for a couple hours during the week. We're now going to have like 25 to 30 hours a week less. So instead of working 100 hours, maybe we're going to work 80 or 70 hours. And so basically we're going to use that time to find other ways to bring revenue into the business. Right. So let's just say, for example, I think we're going to have about like, let's just say on average 30 hours a week more free time.
Right.
So we have 30 hours a week more free time. Actually, let's just say like 38 more hours a week free time because we took Sundays off. So because there's no need to have someone there on Sundays anymore. So we have 38 hours a week. We as a couple are going to reestablish at least 8 to 10 hours of that for ourselves. And that's one thing we've talked about in our therapy sessions with our therapist is that like as owning a business, like, dude, we want to look back when we're 80 years old and be like, hey, dude, when we were 24 years old, we still want to be able to like say that we did things together and went out to eat and did these things and enjoyed our quality time together without jeopardizing the business. And so now that we have the availability to do that, we are going to put a little bit more extra time into each other and doing things together. So like we're finalizing our escrow on our house. So like we'll do projects at the house or doing things together or going out and eating, things like that. And then the other 30 hours is how we're going to bring more income into the business. So we maxed out memberships at our business, like in terms of what we're comfortable having in our business, because I don't want to have any more members because it's busy a lot.
I mean, let's rewind a little bit. We would love to have a lot of members, but we're getting to a point where we're going to hit a capacity.
Yes, that's the best. That's the better way to put it. Is that like we would feel it would be unethical or it would be against our integrity to run like more membership sales
Right.
today, currently. In a month, it might be different from now, but let's say today, currently, because like the gym is already so busy at certain times.
So there's no need to.
There's no need to. So it's like, okay, cool. So if that need is met, now there's a demand for apparel. And so now that we have our apparel system down, we have multiple jobs a year. We have our graphic designer on board. So now we have that system in place. We have our vending machine in place, which brings in extra sales. We have our supplements that bring in extra sales. So basically we've maxed out our potential at our facility. So it's like, okay, so now we need to find a way to bring in extra revenue into the business so that we can continue to provide more back to either our facility or grow to a bigger facility.
Right. So again, we have our goal in mind.
Yes.
As where we want to get to.
Yes.
So now with the additional hours that we're going to have, what do we need to do so that way we can get there?
Exactly.
So is it finding something else? Is it taking on a second job? It's we're
figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
Well, see, that's the thing is that we're all in. And so we're all in on getting to our income goal. We're all in on getting to our business goals. And so because of that, it's like when you have a lot of times people will like hire someone and then take that time off and then take vacations to Cabo or then go somewhere else or go on vacation, things like that. And so like, we are giving ourselves back a couple of hours. Because if not, then you're just like literally we've been running on 150% like past capacity mental for like 3 years now. So it's getting to the point now where it's like, dude, like you are at your business and you're like, dude, if I don't hire someone, I'm going to fucking kill somebody. And so like, you do have to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, need to rest and recharge. But this time is going to allow us to do more personal brand work like a podcast, editing podcasts, editing more social media videos for our business. I do online coaching, so expand my repertoire in terms of how I can bring in income in the online coaching business so that we can now double our revenue instead of just having the business. So you can't just like take the time off, hire someone so that you can fuck around.
Right. And that's something that we've always been the type of people to not do. It's like, okay, what can we do next? What's next? What's next? What else can we do? What else can we provide? And we always look at that, especially inside the gym. Okay, what other value can we bring to our members? What other things can we add without getting overcrowded? So now that we're going to have this extra time, it's like, okay, what can we do to make sure that we're running at 100%, not just for our members, but for ourselves?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing is that like a lot of people are quick to say, you guys need time off, time for yourselves, time for this. And it's like weird because I feel like we're finally going to be able to start doing that a little bit, but at the same time doing it in a way where we're still being productive.
Yeah. Well, we were told by a mentor of ours and then, also like by my parents and people around us that we look up to, which is like, if you're already a hard driver as it is, kind of like how Victoria and I are, we don't really take much time off anyway. We work and we spend our money wisely and we don't do stupid things. It's basically going to be kind of like impossible for us to be wasting our time because like you guys already have it built into you to not be irresponsible. So like taking that, like, that's what I was afraid of with hiring someone is, and these just like, and I hope members listen to this, is I felt that hiring somebody was going to give me the appearance of being lazy, taking time off, not being productive because I'm not at the business. And that's not true. Like my mentor tells us, it's like, dude, you're not going to fucking spend yourself broke. That's just not the type of person you are. You're not going to go sit on the couch for 12 hours a day because that's just not the type of person you are.
Well, and that was a big thing is that even to this day, like even when you have like your meetings on certain days and I'm there, it's like, oh, where's David at? And so it always makes you feel some type of way. Mm-hmm. And hiring somebody like now, it's like kind of, I think as a human, we're always like, well, what are people going to think? People are going to think we're fucking around. We're not like getting shit done, like, whatever. But that's not like the point. Let me tell you, David is literally like the first person to always be like, no, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. Like Sundays, like this morning, it was like
all today.
all day today. I was like, okay, when are you going to be done editing? Like, I just want to go for a walk, or when are you going to be doing this, you know?
I think I edited for like 6 or 7 hours a day.
And
I got
so
like 8
it was
videos
tough.
done.
And so mind you, like I'm not fucking around either. Like I got laundry done. I was making sure the dogs were good. I'm being the best dog mom ever, you know, taking care of that side of things. But this guy, when I say like he's like freaking nonstop, always working, trying to do something, like he is.
I can't sit. I can't.
I'm like,
issues.
just sit down with me for a little bit, have a seat, like, you know, but no, it doesn't happen. And that's okay, because why? That's him.
Because I'm all in.
Because he's all in.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, so I mean, I really hope, like in this episode, I really hope that this strikes with some people who are thinking about going all in on something, or I really hope this strikes with a business owner who's in the same position as us, as they're hiring someone and they're having that feeling of like, okay, well, I have empty space for me. I don't know what to do at that time. We suggest delegating most of that empty time now to learning how to bring in more revenue for your business.
Right. And so, are you ready to recap? Do we recap?
I mean, we could recap. We're already like 31 minutes in. I mean, we could recap if you don't want to keep it too long.
Well, no, because and in the recap, I think it works very well when we kind of touch bases on certain things. So to kind of recap, the biggest thing is, again, if you haven't listened to episode 1 or episode 2, figuring out what your goals are.
Yes.
Having the discipline to do so, but knowing when it is time to go all in and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And not only that is, if the what am I trying to say? If the demand or the need for you to go all in is ready for you, like there's going to be risks that need to get taken, and you just have to do it.
Numbers have to make sense. If you're like, hey, I'm gonna go open up a diamond mining business, it's like, but you only have enough money to do gold, then it doesn't make sense to put yourself in a position that's gonna like literally drain you of all your money trying to get your diamond mining business started. Like the numbers have to make sense to go all in.
Yeah.
The demand has to be there to go all in. Like I wouldn't have opened up a 24-hour fitness or a CrossFit gym because like there was no demand for that in our area. The demand was for our type of facility. So like Victoria says that the market has to be ready to go all in.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's it.
But
what else?
Well, what about like, I'm getting stuck right here and I don't know why.
Well, what other stuff you have written down there that we could recap on?
Demand, opportunity to grow, spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah, spreading yourself too thin. If you are successful in something, you have to make sure that I don't want to say bulletproof because nothing's ever bulletproof, but you really have to make sure that before you move into other areas, you have to be very, very, very good at what you're doing. So like, I would have never felt, or we would have never felt moving into online coaching was the correct thing to do if our business wasn't stable. Right. So like you really have to make sure that you have your systems down in place in your business before you start doing other things. If you manufacture t-shirts and you're only 2 months in and you don't have that many sales, you probably shouldn't start manufacturing keychains. You probably shouldn't start trying to sell shoes or socks or whatever. Get really good at what you're good at and get really good at it for as long as possible. And then once you're ready and once it's stable and you have systems in place, then you can start to move to whatever you want. So what's the saying I love? It's usually you don't need to do something different. You just need to do the same thing better and more.
Yeah, so I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fuck yeah. America. Fuck yeah.
No, please don't. What are you doing?
I hope that someone's listening to this in their car and that someone in the car next to you hears that and wonders what the fuck you're listening to.
No. It's not going to happen.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that's it. Basically, don't spread yourself thin if you're not ready for it. But if you're ready for it, seriously, if the numbers make sense, you just got to let your balls drop. And you just got to go all in.
Well, and if it's going to allow you to get to the position where you want to be, you just got to do it. Because if not, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anywhere.
You just got to go all in.
You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just fucking do it.
Was it make your dreams come true?
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. Fucking do it.
Are we done?
Yeah. Outro this bitch.
All right. So, guys, if you like the episode, like, subscribe, comment, send us a message.
Yeah, tag Victoria and I on Instagram if you guys screenshot it.
Tell us what you think. If we need to improve, if you guys want to hear other topics. Again, we're not any experts. We are just figuring it out.
Yep. If this episode was a bunch of horse shit, then don't share it. But if it's
all right.
if it was good and you got value from it, and if there's another topic that you want Victoria and I to talk about, like, we're always open and we love feedback, and that's how our business has successfully grown so far. So we're very good at listening to feedback. So cool. That's the episode number 3 of Figuring It Out.
Sweet.
Peace.